For years, I've been using the PreSonus Audio Box USB, and whenever I told people that, I always got the same response. Bro, you gotta try the 2i2. Man, the Focusrite is so much better. And I always ignored it. Until a few days ago. After 9 years of almost daily use, my trusty Audio Box USB had an issue that I couldn't quite solve, and it became apparent that it was time to replace it. And that led me to go shopping, and there it was, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 in that shiny, sexy red shell. I couldn't resist. I had to know what had everybody in such a chokehold about it. And now that I have it, I get it. So I've traded in my blue box for a red box. And this really isn't a fair comparison because this is the original PreSonus audio box from, like I said, 10-ish years ago. And this is the newest 4th generation Scarlett 2i2. So obviously it's a little night and day between the two. So because of that, this isn't a comparison between the two machines. We're going to focus exclusively on the Focusrite today. Alright, so as per usual, we're going to be reverse unboxing everything. The first thing we've got, the manual. Just drop that right back in there. Then we have our actual 2i2 Scarlett unit. That also just drop back in there. Then we have a USB-C to a USB-A cable that goes right into this little sleeve here. Slide that back in. And that's so literally that comes in the box. That is everything. Let's start with the physical product itself. Footprint-wise, this thing is downright tiny. It takes up no space on the desk, and I'm having to tuck it away in the corner, neat and out of the way. On the front, we have our 2 labeled gain knobs as well as the 1/4-inch inputs that go with them. Then we have 6 buttons that we're going to go over a little later. And to the right of that, we have a giant output knob, which is going to control the volume of the output. Obviously. Then we have one last button that's going to turn on and off direct monitoring. And finally, a knob and a 1/4-inch for the headphone output. All of these knobs, with the exception of the headphone output, are surrounded by an LED ring known as the gain halo, which you've asked me is a bit of a self-indulgent name, but that's what we'll go with. They'll glow different colors depending on the signal coming in or out of them. They'll glow white when setting values and green, yellow, and red depending on the level of output or input coming in or out of them. I hope that made sense. Green is good, yellow is pre-clip, red is clip. You know how this works. Okay, now let's talk about the back of the unit. From left to right, we have a USB-C shaped 5-volt DC port. You'd use this to power the interface if your computer isn't providing the 900 milliamps of power that it needs to function. You'll be able to tell if your computer isn't giving enough power if you're getting random disconnects or the USB symbol glows red. Next to that, we have our regular USB-C port. That's how you're going to connect it to the computer. Now we've got our speaker outputs labeled left and right, and these are both 1/4-inch balanced TRS outputs. Finally, we have 2 3-pin microphone inputs. Now these are both at microphone level and feature the 4th generation Focusrite preamps. Build quality wise, this thing is metal all the way through, except for like the front and back panels, but this is metal. The knobs are very smooth, very firm, with basically no wiggle or wobble. And the same can be said for the buttons on the front panel. Very solid, very clicky. Feature-wise, there's plenty to talk about, and this is where most of the actual value is held for me. Arguably the most important feature, because it directly affects your recordings, are the 4th generation preamps that are included in here. Not only do they sound great on their own, but there are 2 air modes that are supposed to emulate console sound. We'll talk about those in a second, but it is worth mentioning that you do get 69 decibels of gain range. Nice. And 120 decibels of dynamic range. So even the most gain-hungry microphones will be able to succeed with this. A lot of the features are controlled with our 6 buttons here, so let's go ahead and go through those. The select button is for selecting the preamp that you're controlling. Pressing the button will change whether you're controlling preamp 1 or 2. So any settings that you change will only be applied to the one that you have selected. If you press and hold the select button for 1 second, you'll be able to link the preamps. From here, both preamps will get affected from a single set of controls. This is really great for stereo recording. Say you have like a stereo pair of microphones or a stereo synthesizer you're trying to record. 48V provides 48 volts of phantom power for a condenser microphone or whatever else you may need to power. The Inst button changes the leveling from line level to instrument level. When it's enabled, it'll glow green, and it's more suited for electric guitars and electric basses, that kind of thing. And when it's disabled, it's more suited to drum machines and synthesizers. Auto turns on the auto gain function, which is useful for having the interface itself control your gain for you. All you have to do is press the auto button, it'll light up green, and then the gain halo will change into a 10-second timer. Play your instrument or sing during that time, and the Scarlett will set your gain level for you. Safe is to turn on gain safe, and it'll automatically adjust your gain if you're at risk of clipping. Alright, let's talk about the air button now. This one's a little more subtle. The Scarlett has 2 different air modes. Well, I guess 3 if you consider off The first is gain presence. The LED will glow green and it'll use an analog circuit to add some presence into your recording. The second mode is air presence and harmonic drive. You'll get the same presence boost as with air presence, but then it'll add harmonic overtones to the recording. This is the sound of the Focusrite with no effects turned on. There's no air, this is just a plain sound coming straight from the preamps running into Logic. There's no effects, no EQ, no other kinds of manipulation or modulation happening. This is the plain sound straight from the Focusrite. Now this is the sound of the Focusrite with air presence turned on. Still, no effects, no other manipulations besides the air presence turned on. And now this is the sound of air presence and harmonic drive turned on. And as usual, no other effects or processing has been done to this track. No effects, no reverb, no pitch correction, nothing. No EQ, simply just air presence and harmonic drive. So we have a bonus button to talk about. This isn't in our button bank, but it's a button nonetheless, so let's talk about it. Direct is going to let you listen to the input coming straight into the interface without interference from the computer, so you get zero latency and zero effects. You can press it once for mono recording and press it twice for stereo recording, with channel 1 being in the left ear and channel 2 being in the right ear. That might be flipped on the big camera, but this is my left ear, this is the right ear, I promise. You get a bit of software included with the 2i2. You get a few beginner DAWs, namely Pro Tools Intro Plus, Ableton Live Lite, and FL Studio Producer Edition, which are all great beginner DAWs if you don't already have a main one, so you can get a little sampler of what's out there. There's also Focusrite Control 2, which is a companion app for your Scarlett interfaces. I believe it's specifically for the 4th generation interfaces though. It allows you to connect remotely to your interfaces and control them from anywhere in your studio. You can control it from both the desktop app or there's a mobile app for Android and iOS. You can do everything that you could have done with the physical product on the app, so there's no worry there. And there's also some extra features that you can use, such as getting individual headphone mixes or recalling session defaults. Hitmaker Expansion is a collection of plugins that's going to go with your DAW that give you access to studio level effects for free with your Scarlett. You're going to get things like Auto-Tune Access, Massive, LX480 Essentials, Vox Doubler, Thicken and Widen. There's so many more, but we can just stop it for there. Like, you get so many things included with Hitmaker Expansion. Okay, so that was a lot of information. So what's the TLDR of it all? The Scarlett 2i2 is one of the you can't go wrong with this one interfaces when you're first building out a music studio or maybe building like a mobile setup. The thing is small and light, but it's powerful and sounds great, which is really all you can ask for at this price point, especially when you're first starting out. There's a reason why for years Scarlett has been the range that most people settle on when they're building out their studios, whether that be their first one or more professional options. It's truly a great machine that offers great performance at a great price, which is something that you'll be hard pressed to find yourself outgrowing anytime soon. But if you're picking up your Scarlett, you may just want to hear some sound out of it. So why don't you check out this video here where I talk about my studio monitors that I have. Besides that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You know, do all the YouTube things. And I'll catch you guys next time.